Next thing that we have is just talk about some of the other things as far as email is concerned, because we tend to get bogged down into the whole automated email marketing and forget the fact that, you know, we send email out in many other different forms as well. So we do obviously send out our standard email, whether that's going out from you know, our Outlook, our Gmail, our whatever else we're using in our business to send out, or it could be the web platform that Gary and I provide you with, that you're sending out emails from as well, your webmail platform. So there's a couple of things that you need to think about when you're sending out just standard emails as well. Then there's emails that come out from your job management software. So if you are using something like, as I said, Tradeify, ServiceMate, that type of thing, then there's emails that are sent out automated from those things as well. And then, of course, we have the marketing CRM, which is, in our case, what we use is Aweber. We'll just say autoresponder. This is your automated emails. The issue is that what tends to happen, and what we've noticed with people, is that they're all dealing with these as individual items. And when you send out an email from one, it looks different from an email going out from another one. So there's a couple of things that I just want to run by, just to try and help you to streamline things, because there's no harm in using different things. And in fact, in some cases, we have to use different platforms for doing what we're doing. But the very same as I teach when we talk about social media or websites, you've got to keep a familiarity with the customer. If you send out an email on one day coming out from ServiceMate, and then you send out an email from your own email client, from your email service provider, if you do that and one looks, you know, HTML coded with nice pictures and graphics and everything, and the other one looks tacky and you know, small print and so on and so forth, it's jarring for the customer. And you may have times where you have to do that, where you've sent out a quote using one piece of software, and then a couple of days later you're following up with a different email and it looks different. What the point I'm trying to make is, you need to put some effort into making these formats look as familiar as possible to the customer. So if, no matter what platform it comes out from, it should look like it's come from your business. Let me see some thumbs, hearts, and smiley faces if this makes sense. And of course, some of the thing that you need to think about is, first and foremost, make use of your own domain address. Let me come back up here big for a little minute and take a sip of my coffee. I do like that new button. It's quite handy having that. For those of you who have just joined, I've been playing with a new StreamYard button, which allows us to put a small icon down in the corner. We'll go back to it in a second. Yeah, so I was saying one of the things is to use your own domain address. Now, in some cases, this isn't obvious to everybody, and we've proven that by the fact that some people on Aweber have been sending out emails which have been coming out from Aweber, and some people from MailChimp have been sending out emails that have been going out from MailChimp, and so on and so forth. Okay, so what you need to do is make sure that you go into the configuration and you change the settings. Now, for many of you, that means using the paid option, because in some of these autoresponders, you can only customize them to your own business once you're using the paid option. But then, you know, for an autoresponder, they're not that expensive. I think $19 or something like that is what you would pay a month. But based on what they can do for you, what they can do for your business, it's worth it. But having your domain name, number one, being the same. So for example, we will go through some of the examples. Let's have a look. What some people have is they'll have like electrics@gmail.com, sparkyjohn@hotmail.com, Joe the Sparks @btinternet.com. They have that initially, right? That in itself is wrong. That in itself, as you know, I believe you need to resolve. You need to have, first of all, your own business email address. And any of you who have a website, regardless of whether that website is with the toolbox or, you know, whoever that website is with, it means that you own your own domain name, and therefore your business name should form part of your email address. So for example, you know, you should have a series of different emails. In this case, we've got james@kentelectrics.com. So I might also have let's say it was helen@kentelectrics.com in the office, uh, or it could be one of the other Sparks, Dave@kentelectrics.com, or we may have info@kentelectrics.com, we may have sales but you should have the name of your business. And down below we've got George, ERU, is it EUR? ERU, electrical.co.uk. It could be, Sarah at ERU Electrical. It could be info at, sales at, hello at, but it should have the business name. That's first and foremost. But then, when you set it up on Aweber, instead of that coming out as James from Aweber Kent Electrics, you need to go into your Aweber account. And as I said, in some cases, whether it's Aweber, MailChimp, Constant Contact, any of those, you may have to use the paid version in order to do the update. But in Aweber, it is so simple. You go into Aweber, you go to the list that you're going to be sending from, and all of these are list sensitive, because you can have each list come from a different email address if you so desired. You go into your list options. Now I'm showing you the Aweber setup because many of them will be the same. The buttons will be in different places, but many of them will be the same thing. So you'll go to the list. It'll be list sensitive. You select your list, then go to your list settings, and from your list settings, then just down here, you'll see who do you want to send the email from, pop the name in, and then you'll pop in the email address that you want it from. So now when that email arrives, it's going to arrive from james@jdewane.com, and it's not going to arrive from, kentelectrics.aweber.list.xyz.com, which is what you often see people doing in these instances. Does that make sense, guys? Let me see some thumbs, hearts, and smiley faces if that is making sense to you. Next thing that you need to think about is creating your signature. Now, a lot of people do a signature, but in my view, they tend to do the signature the wrong way. What people tend to do is they'll write the signature, and underneath the signature, they'll have the web address, they'll have the Facebook link, they'll have the Twitter link, they'll have the email link, they'll have their Instagram link, and on and on and on it goes. Right. What you need to understand, what you need to know is that the more links you have in an email, the more likely that email is going to get trapped in a spam filter. Simple as that. And that's, generic across the board. Every email client, this spam filter is not just one thing. Okay, it's not like there's one spam filter for the web. Every email client has its own spam filters, and in some cases spam filters are web-based. So before it even gets, it leaves your desktop, it goes to the web before it even gets to my desktop, let's say, but it can be filtered out back here through the web. From the web, thinking this is spammy, this is crap, this is, and might never get to you at all. And then at the front end, at your desk, my desk, when you send me an email, it's filtered again with my filters that I can adjust and put the settings differently and so on and so forth. And then depending on how the email is created, formed, developed, written, all of that, that will decide whether it gets trapped at that point or whether it is allowed to pass through at that point into my mailbox, my inbox. So the more links you have, the more chances it is it's going to get blocked, it's going to get stopped before it actually gets anywhere. So rule of thumb from a marketing perspective is have as few links as possible in your emails. So if we consider that in some cases in your email, you're probably going to have a link to a YouTube video to show them something, or you're going to have a link to a quote, a PDF document or some such, or a link back to your website. So you're going to have a link or two in your email. So it makes sense then, in the body of the email, it makes sense then to reduce the number of links in a signature. So what I recommend, what I suggest you do, is you create a signature as a graphic. So your signature would look something like this. It's a graphic that you can sit at the bottom of your email, and it has all of the details in there, but it doesn't have clickable links. I'll explain that in 1 second. So if you look at the one that I use for me in the toolbox, again, it's a graphic, it's a signature. People get to know and get to see yeah, that's James, this is what he does, these are his contact details. But they're not all, I don't have a clickable link for the website, I don't have a clickable link for an email, I don't have a clickable link for the phone number, and so on and so forth. They're just there as a graphic. But then what I do is I turn that graphic into a clickable link. Okay, so you've got to decide, what do you want that link to click through to? For you, it may be you want to send them to your website. For you, it may be you want to send them to an order form, which you can absolutely do. For you, it might be you want to send them to a lead magnet, a clickable, a downloadable lead magnet where you can capture their details. It doesn't matter what for your marketing purposes, what you want to send them to. You may want to send them off to your YouTube channel, but create that link and have your graphic. Once they click on the graphic, that's what it does. It takes them there to that. And that is so easy to do, and so easy to set up in your email client. But what you're not doing is you're not making the email address clickable, you're not making the web address clickable. They're just a graphic. And why does that make sense? First and foremost, if they're going to email you, they don't need to click on a link at the bottom of your email. All they have to do is click reply, which what most sensible people do. So what you're doing is, in effect, if you have a clickable link that is your email address in your email, all you're doing is providing another spam, what's the word I'm looking for here? Another obstacle for the spam bots. That's completely unnecessary. There's absolutely no need to have it there. Now, most people feel the need to put their email address in their emails, which we do it, but why make it clickable? It doesn't have to be clickable. It shouldn't be clickable. Okay. So yeah, so make your links, sorry, make your graphic a clickable link. So you have one clickable link to make up your whole signature, but then define where you want that person to go. So if you're doing an exercise in collecting email addresses, you may want them to go to a lead magnet. If you want them to go to an online order form, do that. If you want them to go to your website, then do that. But make that link a clickable link. We've mentioned using autoresponders. We talked about the likes of ActiveCampaign, Aweber, MailChimp. As I said, I normally talk about Aweber because it is the piece of software that I am familiar with. Doesn't take away from any of the others. I use ActiveCampaign now as part of the toolbox stuff that I do. But Aweber is something that I've always recommended for tradesmen, for electricians, because number one, it's simple to use. It does everything that you need it to do, and it is so reasonably priced as well. So in using these autoresponders, some of the questions that I get asked are about GDPR and about how do we deal with gathering information? How do we protect ourselves against issues with GDPR? So guys, bear in mind, if you do have any questions, please do get your questions in. I will happily answer any questions that you might have. We're running a little bit over on time. I'm going to try and keep this as tight as possible. But what I want to do is, like I said, I'm not going through and teaching the whole Aweber 4-list system. I'm trying to answer some of the queries and questions that come up about email marketing and some of the nuances that make things a little bit better as far as making email work for you in your business. But one of the things that tends to hold people back is this whole GDPR scenario. And some of the questions that I get asked is, is it legal to hold people's information? Are we allowed to gather information about people? And the answer to that is yes. But it's how you actually deal with that information that is going to count. It's how sensitively you handle that information is what's going to actually make a difference. The bottom line is, if a customer has come to you for a job, then you're entitled to message them about that job and send them information about your business. That is allowed. Okay. What you must also do is you must also make it clear to them that if they wish, if they want to, they can opt out of the process at any given time. Okay. Now, bottom line is, I personally have always worked with implied consent, and implied consent is simply if you've come to me for work if you've come to me and asked me to rewire your kitchen and I've gathered your email address, then the implication is you want to hear from me. That's how I look at it. Rather than going, oh, and by the way, I'm going to send you lots and lots of information. It's to me that's implicit. That's implied that you want to hear from me. Yes, you want to hear about the job, and yes, I'm going to send you some information about the business. I'm not going to I'm not going to spam you. I'm not going to blast lots of rubbish your way. I'm going to provide you with some value. I'm going to give you some content that's going to be of use to you, and I'm going to make it clear to you that if you need to get out, you can get out at any time you want. And that's how you should run your business. However, I understand that some people are not happy with implied consent. Some of you guys, and I'm talking about you guys, not your customers, because your customers invariably don't care until they care. And what do I mean by that? They just assume that this is going to happen. And then if they find it annoying, if they find it an issue, then they will want out. And as long as they can get out, as in click an unsubscribe button or ask you to remove them, as long as they can do that, then they don't care, because they just click and they're gone. There's no issue, there's no complaint, there's no fines, there's no drama, there's nobody chasing after you. And this is what worries people because of all this stuff that was blown up about GDPR, is they're concerned that, oh, if I send somebody an email, I'm going to get reported and I'm going to end up in email jail. And it doesn't happen. Okay. What will happen is the individual will say to you, I don't want to receive any more emails. And they will do that by either emailing you, writing to you and letting you know, I don't receive any more, please take me off your list. Or they'll hit the unsubscribe button. Either way, they get removed from the list, and that's the end of the issue. If you do that, that's it. There is no breaking of rules. There's no problems. There's no issues. There's no concern. If you fail to do that, if you ignore that and you carry on sending them out emails, or you don't provide an unsubscribe button, or when they email you and say remove me, you send them another email going, oh no, I'm going to keep you in, or whatever, then that's when the GDPR rules will kick in, and that's when people will come out after you, and they'll give you a hard time and fines and so on and so forth. Okay, so it's not easy to get a fine under GDPR. It's not easy to get penalized under GDPR as long as you follow the rules. But I do get that some of you want to dot the I's and cross the T's. So in order to do that, and we had some teaching from a guy who was who knows his onions as far as GDPR is concerned, because he was involved in consulting and putting the whole thing together. His surname has eluded me for the moment, but David was his first name. And there was a couple of things he said that we can do. You know, we can get consent from them. You can either get email consent, so you have on a form that goes out a little box that says, you know, we'll provide you with your quote via email, but then we'll also send you some updates and hints and tips and so on and so forth. That's one thing you can do. You can put that on the form where they sign up. The other thing you can do is on a paper-based form, when you're providing them with their quote, what you can do is you can provide them with an A4 sheet of paper that has their details on it, and it simply has a little bit of wording which you can see down the end here. I don't know if you can read that actually. In this instance, it's Kent Electrics will provide your quote via email. Please sign below to confirm that you are happy for Kent Electrics to also send you occasional updates, hints, tips, and electrical advice. Now, guys, I'm telling you right now, my opinion, and it is my opinion, and it's how I've operated, is that this is not necessary. This is just belt and braces for those of you who are nervous, who are concerned, who want to have your backsides covered. Okay, and if you did this on a quote, where you arrive and you've got a clipboard and you're saying, right, I'm going to send you out your quote, blah, blah, blah. I just need you to complete this form before I leave. And then they put their address, their phone number, their mobile, their email address, all that. You can fill all that in, and all they have to do is date and sign it at the end. Now you're covered as far as GDPR is concerned. You've gotten their permission and so on and so forth. Sorry, I'll bring that up a little bit bigger screen so you might be able to read it for those of you who do want to take down the wording. But if you do want the wording, don't forget that the training that David did on GDPR, if you do a search in your member area for GDPR, you'll find the training video that he did, but you'll also find a number of download documents that you can use. So you've got all the wording for the privacy documents, that you can put on your website. All of that is there available inside of the member area. So, is there any other questions as far as any of this is concerned, guys? Because we have reached the time limit for this morning. And what I would like to do is, just before going, talk a little bit about one of the other questions that came up, and that is the using or making use of warm-up campaigns. But before I get to that, if there's any questions, guys, please do post your questions. If you've got a question, type your question in now, so that when we get to the end of this segment, I can go ahead and answer your question for you. So warm-up campaign. Well, sorry, some of the mistakes that people make, first of all, as far as GDPR is concerned, adding people without their permission. So whether the permission is verbal or written, make sure you've got people's permission beforehand. And like I said, that can be implied in the sense that you inform them. You simply say, I need your email address. I'm going to send you out your quote via email, and I'm going to send you some hints, tips, and blah blah blah. Is that okay? The fact that they give you the email address, in my view, that's implied permission. Okay. Advertising all of the time. I'll do this very quickly, but you hear me say this time and time again inside our member area, is that your email that go out, your automated emails that go out, should be 90% hints, tips, advice, something that is of interest to your ideal customer. Absolutely targeted at your ideal customer. Yes, there are samples inside the toolbox. Yes, you guys can exchange emails and help one another and say, what are you sending out, and so on, and you can copy those. That's great, but make them relevant to your ideal customer. Otherwise, they will just get deleted, or they'll opt out of your list. So make sure that it's not advertising all the time, that you're actually sending relevant stuff for them, with the occasional marketing email. And also make sure that you set up your sequence. We use what we call, I'm not going to teach it, the Fibonacci sequence. Set up your emails so that they go out on a fairly regular period. That there's touches every now and again going out, but not every single day, not every day, not every Tuesday at 4 o'clock, but regularly going out. But what you don't want is to have huge gaps in communication. What you don't need is like you're sending out emails, one a week for the next 3 weeks, and then for 6 months nothing, and then suddenly you start doing it again. So you want to have frequency and regularity. Okay, so that's that. Right, warm-up campaigns. Sorry, I'm pushing through, guys, because of the time. Warm-up campaigns. If you have a list of people that you've never been emailing, or you haven't emailed in a long period of time, it is worth your while running a warm-up campaign before you start adding them to any generic email sequence. Now, there are samples of the warm-up campaign inside the member area. There are a couple of warm-up emails that have been created by members that are in the Facebook group for you to use and download. Make use of them. Because if you start just promoting to somebody, or you start just sending them hints and tips and information, they're going to go, what the hell is this all about? And they're going to delete, or they're going to opt out of your list. But if you send them a warm-up campaign, sort of nicely warming them up, reminding them of who you are, reminding them of why they're on your mailing list, reminding them of the value of the information and the hints and tips and so on and so forth that they're going to get from you, reminding them of the value of the network that you bring to the table, that you can help them find all sorts of different trades, all that kind of stuff. In your warm-up email, you're basically saying, stick around, this is going to be of value to you. And that's going to keep your list solid, rather than just letting it go cold and then just sending them out loads of marketing information, or sending them out loads of hints and tips where they go, what the hell is this about? So have a look at the warm-up campaigns inside the member area, and always set up your warm-up campaign before you add your people to it. The last thing you want to do, and I've seen this happen, is people setting up their Aweber list or their active campaign list, adding the people to it, and then trying to run trial emails and getting it wrong, and people going, I'm getting spammed here because I'm getting blank emails, I'm getting emails with headlines, I'm not getting full emails. They think they're getting spammed, and then suddenly half of your list remove themselves, they unsubscribe. Okay, that is it, done for this morning, guys. If you have any questions, queries, concerns, now's the time to jump in and ask those questions. That was, as I said, that was an overview of email, and trying to answer some of those nuances, some of those questions that people ask. Because as I said, normally when we do email marketing as a training topic, we go down into detail on the 4-list system and we look at the mechanics behind it and so on and so forth. And then I ask you the question, why haven't you got yours set up? Because it is a hugely valuable part of your business, so you should be running it. But also, you know, looking at tying things together so that an email from your autoresponder should look the same as an email from your normal email client, should look the same as an email going out from your job management software. You're sending these communications out. They're all going out from your point of view. You know they're going out from different places. From your customer's point of view, they don't want to look like they're coming out from different places. They need to look consistent. They seem that they should have the same footer, the same signature line. The font should be the same. The size of the font should be the same. The header should be the same. All of that should be familiar to your customer, regardless of what platform it comes out on.